So again, this episode is going to be about tops because I have a curated list on Twitter of like a bunch of news accounts that I have basically they're pretty much all the like main news places from Twitter that are like not I don't know, not necessarily all news, but they're like people that come out with reliable information that I think is some of the stuff that I talk about on the podcast, and it really just feels like nobody is talking about Panini. I don't know if like maybe there's things that are going on that people are talking about with Panini. It just feels like they are they're just gonna really just try to come out with products. They're gonna really just ride the wave out until they don't have any licenses really anymore. They lost WWE, they lost NBA, they lost NFL. It feels like they're just going to ride it out. I mean, they tried suing Fanatics, so like that, I don't know, that's kind of progressing a little bit, but like, I don't know, it just seems like the stuff that Panini is doing, they're not trying to innovate, they're not trying to really do anything super crazy with their products. Like, then that's probably one of the reasons why I just enjoy talking about Topps, and that's why I think that more of their stuff is documented online, because there's just new stuff that they do more frequently than Panini is doing right now. So again, like I said, this is a Topps episode, and it's not even really it's not like a topical news story necessarily, but it's a opinion that I have about cards that you have definitely heard me talk about. Anybody that's listening to this podcast knows that I like Topps now. Because Topps, they came out with the Bryce Harper hitting the home run, and when he was rounding second base, he was talking smack to the second baseman, because there was a whole thing going on during the ALDS between Bryce Harper and I forget the guy's name, Asilis, I think his name is, Orlando Asilis, I believe. I may have just butchered his last name, or even his first name or last name, but that second baseman on the Braves. They were talking, which, granted, this whole story was, I don't know, he said something and he didn't mean for Bryce Harper to hear him, and then Bryce Harper did, and then he hits the home run, they're talking crap. Whatever. But, so Bryce Harper hits that home run, he rounds second base, and there's an image from the outfield that has Bryce Harper looking back at the second baseman. And, I think with cards nowadays, these types of cards, I feel like, are going to have a little bit of significance in the future, for a couple different reasons, because it's sort of, each Topps Now card is almost, it's a standalone thing, especially now that we're in the playoffs. I feel like during the regular season, it's like, I don't know, a little bit less, I don't know, unless something really crazy happens, unless like a record is broken, or it's like a rookie debut, or there's like a record home run that's hit. I feel like the card isn't, as relevant. But I think there's a couple factors that I think make these Topps Now cards actually pretty relevant in the overall grand scheme of sports cards, or just, print on demand, I guess, in general, maybe, because Panini also does Panini Instant, but I don't think the way that baseball, the release schedule is different than Panini, because it's unorthodox, I suppose. That's one way to describe it, of when an MLB player makes their debut. It's not the same way basically every single time. Like with the NBA, with the NFL, even with the NHL, in some cases, a player gets drafted, and usually if they're a first rounder, they're playing in the league that season. Like with the MLB, it's almost the complete opposite. Like, it's very rare that you see a first rounder make it into the league. So the baseball aspect of this, and like I said, I don't know, it could be the Panini Instant cards as well, but I just don't think that Panini Instant capitalizes on some of the iconic moments. Like a card, for example, that I think is going to be super iconic, that I'm surprised that Panini didn't really use the image as much. And I guess with images within sports cards, I would imagine they have to pay for the images, and they probably have to pay per use. So if I had to guess, for example, the Panini Kaboom LeBron card from this year is the image of him, is the image after he scored the shot that broke the scoring record, the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar scoring record. So, like, that image, if I had to guess, I'm not sure. They probably, the reason they didn't use that on, like, which, you know, granted, we don't know. We haven't seen what images are going to be on this year's basketball cards for LeBron, but, like, the fact that they didn't use that image on, like, a bunch of different products is very surprising. They use it on the Kaboom card, which I believe the Kaboom numbered to 10, the gold one, the green I think is numbered to 1, and then I think they have the regular non-numbered ones. But like I said, they use it on sort of like, not like, I guess it is a popular insert set. Or the case hit set, I suppose you could call it. But, like, I'm just surprised they didn't use that image on other cards. I'm surprised they didn't come out with some sort of, I don't know, anything that would add more to that image. With this Bryce Harper card, like, I think down the road, I guess the only reason why I think some of these cards may not be as popular is because I think people don't really know about them. And it's like, almost like, unless you're in sports cards, you wouldn't really know that type of card exists. Like, if Topps, I guess, can somehow, I don't know how they could make Topps now more significant in the grand scheme of things, because, like I said, I just think that using these iconic images, and the fact that, this was the other fact that I should have said, this was part 2 of this concept that I have, is just that, they're numbered. They're basically numbered. Like, sure, they don't have a number on them, but, like, we know how many of the cards exist. And the fact that there are, you know, even the highest number, I believe it's over 100,000, but it's like, there are over 100,000 of every single card that gets produced by Topps. So it's like, the fact that we know, and we don't know that those cards were over 100,000, but there's no way that there isn't. The fact that we know that there are 100,000 of, you know, whatever rookie card, whatever card, I just feel like should have more significance in the grand scheme of cards in general. Maybe it does in the future, maybe it doesn't. I am a proponent that I think it should when it comes to, like, you know, rarity and buying cards that are more rare than others. But this Bryce Harper card, for example, like, I was a fan of Bryce Harper. I bought his Phillies when he did the opening press conference. They came out with Bryce Harper first Phillies cards, basically. And I bought a couple of those, so it's like, I don't know, maybe it's something that every sports card person is going to have a different opinion on different things, and it's maybe a card that I like that maybe other people don't like, and that's why it's like, it is what it is. But I don't know, it's just something, to me, it's like the iconic imagery and the fact that you know how many cards there are of this specific card. Those two factors, to me, really, it makes me think that Topps now should be much more of a bigger deal than it currently is in the grand scheme of sports cards. We have some pretty insane cards, if I'm going to be honest, that are coming up in, it's a couple weeks. So, like, honestly, when this auction ends, I will probably be talking about it again, because just of, like I said, the magnitude of the cards that we have in this auction. So Golden does their elite auctions, and this is one of the first ones that really has caught my eye in quite some time. I think Golden has done, I don't know if I want to say Golden has done the best job at their, like, high-end auctions of any of the auction houses, but if I'm being honest, a lot of, like, the big cards, like the high-end, super crazy cards that have sold over the past few years have been through Golden. And I think it was the Chase, so it was like DA Card World, which is like the podcast that me and Danny went on. Danny and I, we went on their podcast, and they tweeted out that the 1/1 platinum shield Brock Purdy was going to be sold. I think that they were tweeting out something about this could be a potentially $1 million sale. I'm not 100% sure if it's going to get up to the $1 million necessarily, but I know Card Guru put out a tweet again. whatever you want to say about him, I think he puts out some good tweets that, he's gotten better. I think he has realized that he can't just kind of tweet out things without, crediting people. I think he's gotten much better at doing this. And so he tweeted out that if this card, and I remember seeing his tweet like a week or two ago, so it's been like a few days. I don't think the auction has really jumped up super significantly, but he was saying that like if this Brock Purdy card sells at the price that it's at, he'll become like the 22nd player that in the NFL that has had a card sell over $100,000, which I think is pretty impressive. If I'm going to be honest. Now so it's the 1-of-1 Shield. There is a Platinum, which I think is the better of the two, and then there's the Stars and Stripes. I guess it's maybe a different conversation if we should be having like out of National Treasures, 1-of-1 Shields should be like one of the best cards coming out. But it's like the fact that there are multiple 1-of-1 Shields coming out of National Treasures kind of almost seems like it just seems like it. I don't know. I don't like it. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think I have to really go on record here. It's like if there's a 1-of-1 in a product, there should only be one 1-of-1. There shouldn't be if it's a. I think there are some nuances to the 1-of-1 that I think are important. If it's a 1-of-1 Shield coming out of National Treasures, there should only be one of them. There shouldn't be multiple 1-of-1s coming out of the biggest football product, biggest basketball product, the biggest product that Panini has right now. Honestly, at this point, it's too late. It's honestly, at this point, Panini can't really do anything about it. But it's like, why are there, like, the 1-of-1 Shield is like, and it's like, I'm almost positive it's not a shield from a game-worn jersey. I'm pretty sure it's just a manufactured shield. So it's like, it's not even like it's that big of a deal. Now, sure, these are both on-card autos, which is important. I think if it was a sticker, it'd be even more egregious. But it's like, what is the point of having multiple, like, different versions of a 1-of-1 Shield autograph coming out of National Treasures? That doesn't make any sense to me. So we're looking at the big lots from this the Golden Elite that's coming out. I think it's going to be ending in like a couple weeks, so I'll be kind of covering that probably in a couple weeks when it ends. But there's the 1-of-1 Platinum Shield, and then there's the 1-of-1 Rookie Patch Autograph Stars and Stripes Platinum. It's like, I almost swore, if I'm going to be honest right there. I almost swore. I'm not going to do that. I can't do that on this podcast. Maybe later, maybe at some point I will. Maybe I could swear. I don't know. I shouldn't. Danny, I didn't swear. I promise. I didn't swear. Danny, obviously, owner of Hobbynewsdaily, chat all the time, whatever. Either way, it's annoying that there are multiple shields coming out of this product and multiple 1-of-1 Shield autographs coming out of this product. Those are basically the two important cards I think that are really important coming out of here. The other one that I think is, well, there's two other cards that I'm going to talk about on this podcast, actually. So one of them I will get kind of out of the way. It's a PSA 8, Mickey Mantle, 1952 Topps rookie. This could probably break $1 million, if I'm going to be honest. Like, it's at 860 right now, 860,000. I think it probably could break $1 million. But the other card that I think is, lot 2 in this, and I think, honestly, the way that Golden does, I think they do a phenomenal job at, like, breaking up where these cards are placed in their auctions. Then lot 2 is the 1-of-1 Superfractor Bowman autograph for Ronald Acuna. Unfortunately, he's not going to be playing in the World Series, and I would bet that's probably where they're trying to time this card ending. 11 days from now, the World Series is probably going on. Yeah, because they're in the NLDS and NLCS right now, or NLCS and ALCS right now. So 11 days from now, there probably will be World Series games going on, if I had to guess, and they probably thought with the Braves being as good as they are, that maybe they'll be in the World Series. Now, phenomenal. Whoever's decision that was to, co-sign this card and to sell it when they did, phenomenal job, honestly. Like, really very smart, because there was probably a decent shot that they're in the World Series, and if they're in the World Series, Ronald Acuna is probably one of the key players that is bringing them to this World Series. So the fact that they're selling this card during the World Series when he's probably one of the biggest players in the series, very smart. Obviously, Ronald Acuna's biggest card, the 1/1 Superfractor First Bowman autograph. It's such an awesome card. It's such you just look at these, you look at these Superfractor, you look at the First Bowman, you look at the autograph, it's just all around, it's a phenomenal card. It's also a PSA 9 as well. So you know you're getting a card in good shape. Obviously, I don't know. Grading 1/1s, that's kind of, again, and that's another conversation for another day that I have mixed opinions on. I think, if you get the card and it gets a 10, obviously that's going to give it a super, super premium. If it gets a 9, you're probably looking at about the same price if you were to sell it raw. If you're looking at like a 7, if you're looking at a 9 or an 8, most likely raw, you're going to get the same price. A 7 or a 6, that's where you kind of get in some dicey territory when you're coming to grading cards. Grading 1/1s like that. I don't know if it's really worth it. Those are probably the 4 biggest cards, and like I said, the only reason I'm talking about it on the podcast today is because I saw it actually for the first time today. I saw DA Card World talking about it. In the next few weeks, I think there are 11 days left on these auctions. Depending on when you're listening to this podcast, there might be 10 left. But either way, big cards that are going to be sold in the next few weeks. I will be updating everybody on the podcast when these cards sell. Thank you all for listening to this episode. This is kind of basically all I've got for the episode. Make sure to check back to Hobbynewsdaily.com. New articles going up. We have some of the best writers in the industry. And I can't stress this enough. I know if you listen to this podcast that, maybe you like audio versions of things, but if you like reading hobby articles, we have some of the best, I think we have the collection of the best writers in the industry. We have writers from every single place, every single nook and cranny of the hobby you can think of. Check back to hobbynewsdaily.com for new articles every single day. Thank you all, and I will see you in the next episode. Now, one player that was not included in Topps Chrome Bowman U basketball that I thought was pretty interesting was Paige Buecher. Paige Buecher. Sorry, I know it's there either is an S at the end of her name or there isn't. I forget off the top of my head, but she signed an exclusive, which is why she wasn't included in Topps Chrome basketball or the Bowman Chrome U basketball. And I guess it was kind of surprising that she signed the exclusive, which, like I said, the exclusive is basically why she's not in that product. And if you're not aware of her, probably, if you are a sports card fan or if you're a fan of women's basketball, you definitely have heard of her. If you're a sports card fan who's maybe interested in women's sports or women's basketball, there's a chance, and if you have started following it in the past couple of years, there's a chance that you may not have heard of her because unfortunately all of last season she was actually hurt with, in the first practice of last year's season for UConn, she tore her ACL, which is super unfortunate because I think that would have added a whole nother layer to last year's women's Final Four. It would have been probably, I don't know what's going to happen, or I don't know where the rankings will end up being. I'm hoping this year that we see LSU, UConn, and then Iowa, who have basically, I think, 4 of the most electric players in all of women's maybe even women's basketball right now, who unfortunately, with the way that it works with the WNBA, you have to be 21, I believe, is the age that you have to be before you can go to the league, which I don't know. I don't love that aspect of it. I mean, I guess you could look at it and say, well, you get more time to develop as a younger player before going to the league. But last year's number 1 pick, Aaliyah Boston on South Carolina, that was another very interesting story because South Carolina is another team that was just nasty, for a couple years. And then she was the number 1 pick. She won the, I think she gets drafted by Indiana, I believe. And then she goes on to win the Rookie of the Year, which is phenomenal. She is in the upcoming, or she is in the last year's Bowman Chrome U basketball. So if you're looking for that card for her, like that's a good card to get. And with actually another question that I sort of have with Panini losing the NBA license, I wonder if that is going to include the WNBA license, because I know that those two leagues are partner. Now, obviously, they're going to have different players associations, but like I said, I'm just wondering if losing the NBA means that they're going to lose the WNBA as well, which I think would be, it's still an up and coming sport, I think, for within sports cards itself. And I think actually, sorry, I don't think I mentioned Paige Bucher, she signed a exclusive with Leaf, and Leaf came out with her first trading card. So I think that's kind of a big deal. I ultimately think if she gets into a Topps product, whatever that first Topps card is probably going to be a bit better than the Leaf card. Like, I know that, the Leaf card came out first. It was an online exclusive. It wasn't in products, which I know that they've done kind of with their, influencer cards. They've done that. Obviously, she is not an influencer. Well, I don't know. I guess she kind of is. But, I think with the way that sports in general works now with the NIL specifically, all college athletes are kind of influencers in their own sense now. But I do think whenever she is going to be in a WNBA product, like that's probably going to be more important. If she gets into a Topps product before she gets drafted, that would also be kind of big. I don't know if she's going to because of this exclusive. I don't know how long the exclusive is for. Like, if I do think it's kind of a big deal for Leaf to have gotten her as a player, because like if Leaf down the road is looking to sell to either Fanatics, I guess, or Panini, they have some. I think that they have some decent exclusives. Obviously they have a lot of the creators. I think like influencers. Page obviously is going to be a big deal in that category as well. But like this upcoming basketball season, like I said, with UConn, Iowa, with Caitlin Clark, who I think is definitely on the same level as Bucher's, like in terms of like impact. Like we saw, like I think Topps actually came out with another really cool Bowman card, a Bowman Now card. So Iowa, I believe it was over the weekend, or it was at the end of last week. They did an outside game. The Iowa women's college basketball, and they broke the women's attendance record for their school. I forget off the top of my head if they broke the overall women's basketball record. I feel like it probably was, because they did it at the football stadium. So it's like they had the stadium seats were filled with all of the fans. And, the other really cool thing that they did with that was that they actually, all the proceeds of the tickets went to the children's hospital that's connected to the stadium. Like, Iowa has that big tradition where it's after, I think, going into the fourth quarter, it's in between one of the quarters, all the fans like turn and they wave at the, it's a little bit morbid and sad, but they wave to the kids who are watching the game, because the children's hospital has windows that they can see into the stadium, which, like I said, it's really cool. A little sad, honestly, too, but at the same time, it is like a really cool gesture, and all of the proceeds are going towards that children's hospital, which I think was a phenomenal idea. And then LSU, Van Leith was actually a player that played for Louisville. And there was a big controversy with Caitlin Clark last year, where she did the "You Can't See Me" John, which I don't know if, I guess maybe John, yeah, that would be John, like the John Cena "You Can't See Me" during that game in the NCAA tournament, which I thought was phenomenal. But then Angel Reese on LSU, when Iowa and LSU played, she did it, and it was a whole thing. And it's again, Van Leith transferred from Louisville to LSU. So I think, like I said, the four pretty impactful players are those four players right there, and I'm not 100% sure, whether Angel Reese and Van Leith are eligible for the WNBA draft next year, but I know that Caitlin Clark and Paige Buchers are going to be eligible after this season. Whether they go, I'm pretty sure I was seeing an article that Caitlin Clark said that she has another year of eligibility because of the COVID year. So there's a chance that she may not go to the draft, but either way, I do think that this upcoming college basketball for women is going to be an excellent. It's going to be probably one of the most exciting. Since we saw like Sabrina Ionescu, she was just incredible in college as well. Obviously goes to the Liberty or in the she goes to New York, and within just a couple years, like now the Liberty and Las Vegas are playing in the WNBA finals right now. So there's a chance that she could. Which they got Breanna Stewart from. They brought over Breanna Stewart from Seattle. I mean, they just New York formed like a phenomenal team, like a really, really good team. And I guess this is maybe the long way of saying like there are a ton of phenomenal players within women's college basketball right now that hopefully you're going to go to the league. And like I said, the big news from the past couple days with Paige Buchers, she is a exclusive to Leaf right now. They came out with a set. We'll see if that kind of stays and it kind of stays that way in the future. I do hope that maybe she can be included in a top set, but like I said, I don't know how long that deal for her actually is. If you heard me in the intro there, I didn't really exactly know how to intro the episode properly, if I'm going to be completely honest, because, I'm not going to be really talking about stuff that excites me on this podcast. I'm going to have to be talking about things that kind of annoy me within sports cards, and, like, realistically, I think that the ebbing and flowing of the excitement and the frustration within sports cards really is just, the frustration really just comes from, like, I want people to enjoy cards, and things like this I feel like make cards just less enjoyable to me, which to some people maybe it doesn't, but I guess I don't really necessarily see how it couldn't or how it could make it less enjoyable. I don't know, but and the actual subject is not this first topic that I'm going to talk about. The actual subject is something that I kind of covered on an episode previously this week, but it appears that there has been another one of one pulled out of Bowman. Like, there's been another superfractor, like a third superfractor for Juan Benjamin. These are all breakers that are pulling these cards, so, there's video evidence of this, and it's pretty frustrating when it comes to someone who likes to talk about sports cards, because it really makes it hard to defend Fanatics. Like, I would say I was probably one of the people who was really excited for Fanatics to come in and kind of show people what they can do within sports cards. But if I'm going to be completely honest, they really have embarrassed themselves. And I don't know. I don't necessarily think anybody from Fanatics is going to listen to this or if it's really going to make any change, but I just want to express my thoughts on this first year so far. It's like it's Fanatics has really come in and sort of embarrassed themselves. If I'm going to be honest, within people who take sports cards seriously and who really kind of, there's people who are making this is their livelihood. Like, so if you are coming in and you are really like, you're messing up people's livelihoods here, whether you're selling breaks or you're selling cards. It's like, and again, it's probably it's a communication and a growth issue, like Fanatics and Topps combined, and the growth of certain departments really probably led to communication really, just being totally not there. And the fact that, and it's another communication issue. The fact that they came out and said there was duplicate one-of-ones in this year's Bowman, and then there's a third, that just adds to this level of communication that really is frustrating for someone who talks about cards, who is interested in cards, who follows the news around cards, all these types of things. Like, it's just, it really is, I don't know what, like, it really, all Fanatics had to do was kind of keep the ship level. Like, things for Topps were not going badly. Like, out of anybody, I think Topps, they were going really well. Like, for Panini, if you're Panini and you're coming in and you're Fanatics, you really got to turn things around for Panini. You got to really kind of do like almost a 180 and flip things around for them. For Topps, things were going well. Like, I don't know. And so I guess maybe the other thing that is not necessarily the same topic, it's around the same one. So the one-of-one Shedeur Sanders Superfractor image variation autograph was pulled out of Bowman U football. And I just don't like the image variations. I won't lie about that. I do like the image variations, but I think that they need to be numbered differently than the regular cards. Like, they need to have like the green, the blues, the yellows, the oranges. I forget all the reds, whatever. They need to be red number to 5, 99 number to 99 green, all those types of things. They shouldn't be numbered that way. They should be numbered with base cards, and they should just say how many of these image variations there are. And the fact that we have 2 one-of-one Superfractor autographs, it doesn't make any sense. Like, the image variation, it's a one-of-one, so the fact that it's an image variation doesn't make it more rare. It's a one-of-one, so there's one of the image variations, and then there's one of the regular base, but it's like, why are there 2 one-of-one Superfractor autographs? It's the same thing that frustrates me with the one-of-ones coming out of National Treasures. Like, why are there multiple one-of-one Shield autographs? And obviously, it's because they want to make more money, they want to be able to produce more cards and make more product, but it's like, from a consumer perspective, like, just, I don't know, there has to be another way to be able to produce more cards without, and it's like, why wait? Like, I guess it's not necessarily a waste of an autograph because it's only one autograph that I guess maybe there are the other numbered variations, but like, you're only really using the one autograph. So it's like, why not figure out a different way to, first of all, use the autograph. Second of all, you figure out a different way to produce more product without having to do multiple one-of-ones. And I know not every product has this issue. Like with regular Bowman, there isn't, with most players, there isn't like an image variation, but like with Topps Chrome, usually there's an image variation, but it's like, it's just frustrating, and I think both of these kind of stories that have come out are frustrating for me, and I don't like the fact that there's double image variations. Like, obviously, that's not the same thing as there being 3 Superfractors. Like, that's embarrassing. Like, for Fanatics, like, if like the biggest product of the year, all you have to do is just do it the same way they've been doing it. Like, I don't even understand how something like this happens, because, like I said, it makes me worried that this is happening with smaller products, and we just don't know, because Bowman is just the most important product, and we don't know these other products that are having these issues because nobody cares, I guess. Maybe like this is the thing. It's like the biggest spotlight. Obviously, you're gonna any flaw or any issue, but it's like multiple Superfractors is just, you can't. We gotta tighten up a little bit. I don't know, and I almost wanted to do a full podcast on what Topps needs to do, and because no, you see Michael Rubin, he's going on Shark Tank and stuff, and it's like, then you see I don't know, and this is maybe something where this is what people predicted. I don't know, because when Fanatics came in, people said, oh, it's gonna, they're gonna do this, and it's not gonna be good, all of these things, and like, at this point, obviously the story of Fanatics and Topps is not fully written at this point. They're in their rookie year. This is the first year for Fanatics with Topps, and they are embarrassing themselves. They're producing the multiple one-of-ones in the biggest product. The image variations aren't the same. That's not the same thing, but it's just like, I wish that they could figure out a way to do this without, like, the image variations. I just hate it, because it's like it just makes things more confusing. It makes things in the future more confusing for people that want to collect cards and they want to look into things, and it's almost like, it's almost a thing where it's like, if somebody isn't on social media, how do you expect them to know these things? Like, the only reason that I know about these things is because of social media. Like, sure, like, if you go to Topps' website, maybe you could find it, or if you have, and I think this is one of the other example that kind of is frustrating, is like the thing with the Victor Wembanyama. It's like, why is the Victor Wembanyama thing not part of the, why did they not talk about that before the product came out? I don't know necessarily. I don't know if it was a mistake and they had to figure out what was going on there, but it's like, if someone's not on social media, or they don't, like, they're just somebody random pulling a pack, like, especially the fact that now it's too late for anybody that wanted to get that card, because the card's already out there. So it's like, that's the other thing that doesn't make much sense to me. It's like, why wouldn't they use that as promotion, but then when the product actually comes out, like, I can't imagine, there's no way they'll ever come out with the data, but I can't imagine all 99 of the redemptions were pulled. So it's like, why why are they pulling the trigger on this event so soon after the product comes out? But it's like then they weren't even talking about the event before the product came out. So it's like that the whole situation just stems from, I think, that there was some sort of the product mistake where they had to do it this way. I don't know why, but they had to figure out a way to do it. I'm not sure if it was on purpose or whatever, but it screams that there was a mistake and that they're trying to sweep it under the rug by just doing this thing, getting it over with, and moving on to the next set. Because like I said, there's just no way that all of those numbered to 99 autographs were pulled. It couldn't have been even close. I can't imagine. There must have been 20 at the most, 20 or 30. Even that's think about how many autos there are. I don't know. This is just podcast is running a little bit long at this point, so I think I'm going to end it here and just say that I hope that Fanatics can turn things around and that I am still optimistic that they can. It's really just going to have to be that they are. I don't know what they're going to have to do. I don't know what they're going to do. They've got to figure out how to turn it around. I'm not sure when that's going to happen. Like I said, the story for Fanatics it's not written yet. It's not fully written. There's still a ton of time for them to fix these things, but we'll see how it goes. And I'm not 100% sure, and it's frustrating, if I'm going to be honest here. But yeah, that's gonna be it for today's podcast. So make sure you check back to hobbynewsdaily.com. Courtney from Reckless Cards just wrote a phenomenal article. Definitely go check that out. Also, like I've been saying, I've been doing the web design on there, so we've been making edits to the website, all these kinds of things. Make sure you go check that out too. Also, go to @HobbyNewsDaily on Twitter and Instagram. Let us know what you thought of today's episode. Let us know if you're as frustrated, maybe as I am. And thank you all for listening. I'll see you in the next episode. So, first things first, I think we should give a congratulations to the Vegas Aces. They won back-to-back titles. Becky Hammon cementing herself as maybe one of the best basketball coaches in quite some time. I mean, she's won the championship here. I know she was a potential coaching candidate actually in San Antonio. She was the assistant coach for Greg Popovich while she was in San Antonio. I think a lot of people thought that she was going to take a job within the NBA. I think I'd like to see her take a job in the NBA just because I'd love to see, the history of her being the first female coach of a Major 4 sport. She was the first, I believe she was the first when Popovich in some game, Popovich got kicked out of a game, and that made her the coach for the game, pretty interestingly enough. And I think that made her the first. I would imagine it had to have been the first time that a female head coach has been the head coach during the game, which that's really cool. And I mean, Becky Hammon, if not such a great coach, and I'm really, it's really good to see kind of her jump into that head coaching role. It's unfortunate that, the Liberty lost. I was kind of rooting for them in this finals. I think that now the Aces have won back-to-back titles in the WNBA. The other thing that I was a little bit disappointed of is that it's a best of 5, not a best of 7 in the WNBA finals. I'm not 100% sure why that is. When I was, looking up some of the stuff, people were saying that the Aces were looking to close out the series and they're up 2-1. I was like, wait, that's not best of 7. Maybe they'll switch best of 7. I don't know for sure, but either way, so Aces win. Like I said, WNBA, they're getting more products. The Prism has been the big one. They debuted that actually during Sabrina Ionescu's rookie year. They had a first Prism product for WNBA. There have been other WNBA products throughout the history of kind of the sport, but also the WNBA is kind of similar to the MLS, where it's only really been around for about 25 years. It's still a fairly new league in terms of its age. So now that we're actually seeing a league where players can go and make money, we are going to start seeing better athletes choose that route. They're going to choose to play basketball. It's the same with the MLS and soccer. There's just the thing is, there was no avenue 10 years ago really for a player to play basketball for a living. Now there is, so I think that's really cool. Also, another Spurs note, actually kind of interestingly enough, Panini actually did something good, I think, interesting. I don't know how much they paid for this player, but Tim Duncan is going to have an autograph back in Panini products. I guess they said starting in February, so that means we're going to be getting more NBA products as well for Panini, which I think is kind of interesting. I don't know necessarily why, Tim Duncan, I mean, in all of this sort of turmoil, I would call it turmoil, that Panini's going through, to sign a name like that is a pretty big deal. I think Tim Duncan's actually one of the more underrated superstars in NBA history, if I'm going to be completely honest. Like, he was quietly part of one of the best dynasties in all of basketball. Like, the amount of championships he won in San Antonio is actually, like, he's up there with some of the greats with how many that he's actually won. So, like I said, he is definitely a big name. Another piece of news, Bowman, they announced their design for next year. The release date for Bowman Baseball, which is the first release, which is usually the international players, the international signees, and then I think it's the second overall pick gets his first card in Bowman that year. So it's slated for May for Bowman Baseball, which is that first Bowman release of the year. That's going to be a pretty cool one. The design itself, I think, is good, I suppose. I think it's very similar to this year, and I would be interested to know, like, this is kind of one of the things that I've thought about with sports card designs in general, is like, at what point are we going to do the same design? Like, should there be a product every year that has the same design? Like, and should there be like a flagship product? Like, or like some sort of flagship product that has the same design every year, or like some high-end product. I think every year they come out with new designs, and one product that comes to mind that I think some people like, I've talked to some people and they like this, some people say that they don't like it, is Exquisite Basketball, or Exquisite for Upper Deck. They have over the years used the LeBron debut Exquisite product design. They've used that for other stars, so like Shohei Ohtani, Sabrina Ionescu, Steph Curry, I believe, has I believe Connor McDavid. Like, throughout the years, they have used that same design, like the exact same design, for other players and for other years, and that's like the number to 99 RPA is like, that's like the design that they use. And I like the idea. I think that the concept has the thought behind it where, like, if they were to just use the same design for some other random thing, like, it may be looking a little bit lazy, but I don't think, honestly, I think it's a good idea. So, like, with Bowman, it's not exactly the same. It has sort of the same features to it, which with Topps, I've noticed that they kind of do like 3 to 4 year cycles with the designs. Like, every 3 to 4 years, they kind of totally change the concept of the design. So, just thinking back to what we've seen over the past few years with Bowman, like, I think 2020 was the last time that 2020 and then 2021 was the last year we really saw a significant overhaul in the design. So I would imagine this year they'll do it, but then next year, I guess maybe it'll be something that's completely different. Like, or maybe that they're just moving towards this sort of style of like the sleeker, more like gradient using borders on these cards, where in the past they've used more like solid colors and more like less gradient parts of the design, which I think as we sort of have moved forward, we have seen that a little bit. And the last thing that I'm going to talk about, something a little bit quicker. So I saw that, it was Heritage Auctions, I believe, has a ticket from the Babe Ruth game where he called his shot in the World Series. That game, they have a ticket that's going to be going up in a auction soon. And that is a type of piece that I believe could be, I would say that game might be one of the more iconic games and moments in all of sports history. Like, it's a culturally relevant, transcendent moment in sports where it's like, if you do it's almost similar to like when someone shoots something into a basket, they go, Kobe. It's kind of like that, where it's like if you are playing baseball or you're doing something and you point, anybody that's a sports fan knows what that is. And even if you're not a sports fan, you probably know who Babe Ruth is, and you probably know what the reference is to that. So I think that I don't know necessarily how many tickets there are from that game or how many graded tickets, but like I think it's actually going to be I think that's going to be a very interesting auction to watch because of the cultural relevance of that game and of what happened during that game.